Hello and welcome to the 12th and final lesson in the U.S. Citizenship Preparation class. Yay! You did it! You did it! Thank you all for staying with us. Classes were brought to you through the Gilchrist Immigrant Resource Center with special thanks to teacher Daniel McCall. Now let's have a little review of some of those past civics questions before we start our final lesson. Ready? Who was president during World War I? Who was president during World War I? And that was Woodrow Wilson. Remember all those W's. You can say Woodrow Wilson or just Wilson. Who did the United States fight in World War II? Who did the United States fight in World War II? That was Japan, Germany, and Italy. And remember, you need to say all three countries here: Japan, Germany, and Italy. Who was president during the Great Depression and World War II? Who was president during the Great Depression and World War II? And that was Franklin Roosevelt. Franklin Roosevelt, or just Roosevelt. What ocean is on the west coast of the United States? What ocean is on the west coast of the United States? That is the Pacific Ocean. Name one state that borders Mexico. One state that borders Mexico. Here you can say California, Arizona, New Mexico, or Texas. Any one of those four. Name one of the two longest rivers in the United States. Name one of the two longest rivers in the United States. And you have choices: Missouri River or the Mississippi River. So choose the one that is easiest for you to pronounce and remember. Missouri River, Mississippi River. What territory did the United States buy from France in 1803? What territory did the United States buy from France in 1803? That was the Louisiana Territory. The Louisiana Territory. You can also just say Louisiana. Louisiana. All right, let's try a couple reading and writing sentences. Try reading this sentence. When is Flag Day? When is Flag Day? These might be some new reading and writing sentences, so don't get nervous. Just write them down so you can practice. So the first one, when is Flag Day? And then you'll write Flag Day is in June. Flag Day is in June. And it should look like this. Flag Day is in June. Let's try reading this one. When is Labor Day? When is Labor Day? And then try writing Labor Day is in September. Labor Day is in September. And it will look like this. Labor Day is in September. Okay, let's try one more. When is Columbus Day? When is Columbus Day? And then try writing Columbus Day is in October. Columbus Day is in October. And that will look like this. October is, will look like this. Columbus Day is in October. There we go. Very good. Now that you know all 100 civics questions. I will put up a special video reviewing all 100 questions later. But in today's class, however, we will talk about the oath ceremony and what to do after the oath ceremony. So here it is, your naturalization ceremony. It can be known as different things: the naturalization ceremony, the naturalization oath ceremony, your oath ceremony, the swearing in ceremony. So regardless, at this ceremony, at this very important ceremony, you will swear your allegiance to the United States and receive your naturalization certificate. So it's a very special and meaningful ceremony. And after this ceremony, you will be an official United States citizen. So it is not until after this ceremony that you become that official citizen. Now, during the naturalization ceremony, it will likely be held in the USCIS building where you had your interview. Some ceremonies are held elsewhere, like in a museum or in a park. Sometimes they do that. But most of the ceremonies are held right where you had your interview. You can invite friends and families to attend your ceremony. Cameras and videoing, pictures, they're all allowed because this is such a special day. So they would like you to dress nicely in proper attire to show your respect for the ceremony. That's kind of right in their directions. You know, they don't want people just, you know, in jeans with holes in them and a t-shirt. They want you to, you know, show that you're excited and that this is kind of an official ceremony. So make sure you leave your home early enough so you have plenty of time to get there. Never know what you're going to hit traffic-wise or accident. Also, remember, it might take 15 minutes, a good 15, 20 minutes to get through security. And during COVID, they might be doing extra screenings as well. Okay, so get there in plenty of time. It's not something you want to miss. Before your ceremony, you will be given another form. Surprise, surprise. This is the N445 Notice of Naturalization Oath Ceremony form. And you'll have to complete this form between your interview and the oath ceremony. So most of the time, your interview will take place, and then USCIS could not schedule your oath ceremony maybe for another 3 months. They have up to, I think, 90 days, sometimes 120 days. So there might be this break, right? There might be this more waiting time. Some offices are doing same-day ceremony, especially now with COVID. They will have your interview and then the oath ceremony in the afternoon, maybe. That's lucky. Some people got their interviews canceled, and they've been waiting for 4 months for their interview, right? So things can change. This is what that form is about. This is what that form is about. You'll need to review it, first of all, when you get it or they hand it to you. You need to review it and make sure the date and the location are correct. Okay? You'll be required to take this N445 form with you to the oath ceremony. Okay? Now, let's look at this form. There are 8 important questions on the form that you must answer on the day of your ceremony. So that morning of your ceremony, or if you have your interview and if you're lucky enough to get a same day ceremony, you'll fill it out, between your interview and your ceremony. But if you've been waiting, look at these questions here. Okay? Let's see. These questions are basically asking if there have been any changes. Okay, that's what they're asking. If there have been any changes between your interview and the oath ceremony. So, since your interview, right, have you married anyone? Have you been widowed, separated, or divorced? Okay, now if you have your interview in the morning and your oath ceremony in the afternoon, Unless you get married at lunchtime, nothing's changing, right? You just check no. But if you waited 4 months and you happen to get divorced or married or something happened, then you can check yes and bring the documents with you. If you got married between your interview and your oath ceremony, make sure you check yes and bring your new marital certificate with you, okay? So any changes, you need to bring the evidence. Right? Another question on here. Since your interview, have you traveled outside the United States? Okay? You're not doing that at lunchtime, so this is for those people that have been waiting for 3 months for their interview. Since your interview, have you traveled outside the United States? And you would need to, if you did, you would need to check yes and bring that information in with you, the dates of travel, where you've traveled, and let them know that check-in. Okay. Since your interview, have you knowingly committed any crime or offense for which you have not been arrested? And the next question, these two questions, 3 and 4, deal with criminal offenses. Since your interview, have you been arrested, cited, charged, indicted, convicted, fined, or imprisoned for breaking or violating any law or ordinance, including traffic violations? Okay, so there's big questions there, right? And so even if you got a speeding ticket or something, you need to say yes, bring in the information, let them know. Okay, these are the questions on the form. Number 5 here is asking, since your interview, have you joined, become associated, or connected with any organization in any way, including the Communist Party, a totalitarian organization, or terrorist group? Okay. Number 6 is asking, since your interview, have you deserted from, claimed exemption from, or been separated or discharged from the military service? It also might say something like more simple, like have you claimed exemption from military service? Okay, but 6 is about military service. 7 is a big one. Since your interview, has there been any change in your willingness to bear arms on behalf of the United States, to perform non-combatant service in the armed forces of the United States, or to perform work of national importance under civilian direction if the law requires it? My goodness, there's another oath question there, right? Okay, so have you changed your mind about any of those oath questions? Yes or no? And then the last one here would be at the bottom, number 8. Since your interview, have you practiced polygamy, received income from illegal gambling, been a prostitute, procured anyone for prostitution, or been involved in any other unlawful commercialized vice, encouraged or helped any alien to enter the United States illegally, illicitly trafficked in drugs or marijuana, narcotics, given any false testimony to obtain immigration benefits, or been a habitual drunkard? Wow, so that's a lot in that question, right? So basically these 8 questions are asking, has anything changed? And did you get in trouble anywhere in the United States? Have you changed your mind about anything? You need to let them know. Okay, so that's what this form is, and you will fill it out and hand it to them on the day of your oath ceremony, before your oath ceremony, when you check in. Now, during the naturalization ceremony, before it begins, you will check in. You will give up your permanent resident card and any other documents listed on that N-445 notice, including any re-entry permits, refugee travel documents, or any other documents that have been issued to you by USCIS, either valid or expired. Because after the ceremony, you will be a United States citizen, and all those other documents are closed and filed, and you should not need any of them. So you need to give those back. You will receive a written information and a small U.S. flag in exchange for these documents. Okay. You will also remember check in and give them that form, okay, signed and dated the day of your oath ceremony. Now, it's usually a 30-minute ceremony, and it consists of speeches, the oath of allegiance, the presentation of the naturalization certificates, the Pledge of Allegiance, and they'll ask for a volunteer to lead that typically, the national anthem and other music. They'll also show you videos. Now again, this is a normal naturalization ceremony, and there's lots to it. If you're going during COVID, these ceremonies are shortened. They're going to give you a lot of paper. They'll tell you about the videos. Go home and watch them. They're just not doing that. They want to get you in and out during this time if you're going during COVID-19. Okay, so just know that this is a normal naturalization ceremony, and what's happening right now during social distancing is not normal, right? Okay, very important here. You need to check your certificate of naturalization to make sure all information on it is correct. You need to report any error to USCIS before you leave the room, before you leave that building. You need to check, is that your name? Is that your picture? Is that the date? Is everything spelled correctly? Look at it carefully, okay? Because it is very important that you check it before you leave the building. Because if you find an error after you leave the building, USCIS will charge you money to fix it. Right now, the rate is $555 to fix it, even if it's their mistake. That's why you need to check it, okay? And, you know, in 6 months from now, it might even be more, okay? Not only that, it might take them another year to get you a new certificate. So that's why it's so important, okay? Double check that certificate. And it will look like this. That picture was taken most of the time during your biometrics appointment. Check the name, check, and you can see right here on this particular one, this is a woman, a picture of a woman, and here they have male for the gender as male. So right away they're like, you need to get that changed, okay? Unless you identify differently. But that's just an example. All right, when you get home, you need to sign your naturalization certificate in black ink, and do not laminate it. I know it's really important and you want to laminate it. Stick it in one of those sheet protectors if you want to, but don't laminate it, okay? It will invalidate the certificate. Keep your naturalization certificate in a safe place. If you lose it, again, you will have to pay to get it replaced. Now, after you become a United States citizen, so once your oath ceremony is done, once you have that naturalization certificate in your hands and you go home and you have a beautiful special celebration dinner, right? Then what do you do next? Well, one thing you must do after you become a United States citizen is go to the Social Security office to let them know that you've become a U.S. citizen. You need to change your status. So you will visit Social Security so they can update your record. Now, most of the time they tell you to wait about 10 days after your ceremony so the computers can catch up. And be prepared to show them your certificate of naturalization, bring the original, or your U.S. passport if you do it opposite. If you get that, bring both. If you want, that certificate is important. It is important that your Social Security record is accurate because you will need your Social Security number, right, to get a job, collect Social Security benefits, receive other government services. When you're hired for a job, the employer always asks for your Social Security number, and they type it into the system. And you want all that information to be right. You want your record to be correct. Okay? We suggest you make an appointment before you go. Here is that phone number. You can also get it from their website it's ssa.gov, ssa.gov. And sometimes they are very backed up for appointments. And depending on your office, you might be able to walk in and sit and wait for a couple hours sometimes, or you can just make an appointment and go when they have availability. Okay, so the application for the Social Security card is kind of like the same application for getting the Social Security card, but in the citizenship box, you will check you are in fact a U.S. citizen now. Okay, so that is very important. Take your original naturalization certificate and your driver's license or ID, and this is usually up to the states, but most states, if you do not go to Social Security, they won't be able to renew your driver's license, renew your ID. Okay, so it's just important, and bottom line is you want your records to have the correct information. Okay. Also, don't forget about jury duty. Yay, jury duty is listening to a court case and deciding if the person is guilty or not. Okay, it's very interesting to sit in on a court case. It is one responsibility of U.S. citizens. It is also required. Okay? If you get chosen for jury duty, you will get a notice in the mail. Permanent residents also get notices in the mail. You may have gotten one, but you cannot serve if you're a permanent resident. Lawyers on both sides of the case will interview you in front of everyone to decide if they want you on the jury. So they will ask you different questions, and then the lawyers will decide who gets to sit on the jury. Okay. Other things you should do after you become a U.S. citizen: photocopy your certificate of naturalization and store them in a different place than your original. Okay, just in case anything happens. Now, on the bottom of that certificate, it says it is punishable by U.S. law to copy, print, or photograph this certificate without lawful authority. But you have lawful authority to make backup copies of your certificate in case it is lost or damaged or stolen. So go ahead, sign that, and make copies of it and store them in maybe different places and safe places. Okay. Keep your naturalization certificate, your certificate of naturalization, in a safe place. Again, if you lose it, you'll have to pay to get a new certificate. Another thing you want to do is vote, right? Voting is both a right and a responsibility of U.S. citizens. You can register to vote, get the form, fill it in, mail it, or register online with your state. A lot of states also allow you to register right there at the polling place. You'll have to find out how to register within your state, but we definitely encourage you to register to vote and to vote. You must register using your home address, not your work address. You only need to register once. You do not need to register for each election. So unless you move to another state, you should be good there. Now, political parties, you have the option to register with any recognized political party in your state, such as the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, the Libertarian Party, the Green Party, or you can choose not to register with a party. In other words, you can register as like unaffiliated, as an independent or no party or other, whatever that is according to your state. Okay, your vote is secret. No one will know. They'll know if you voted, but they won't know who you voted for, how you voted. Okay? You do not have to vote for the candidates of your party except during the primary elections when they're deciding who is running against who. You can choose to vote on parts of the ballot or not vote at all. You can, just pick and choose. Sometimes it's like, vote for the judges and the sheriff and in the school board. But if you're not up on all different people, you might just leave some of those blank if you need to. Okay. Also, apply for a U.S. passport, right? That's very exciting. At a post office or an acceptance facility, make an appointment again, just like with the Social Security office. Now that you are a U.S. citizen, you can apply for a U.S. passport from the U.S. Department of State. You will need to submit your original Form N-550, that is the Certificate of Naturalization. So it's really hard to let that original certificate go in the mail, but to get your passport, you do need to send that original certificate. Make sure you have the backup copy, though, at home. You'll need to send the original and a photocopy with the application for the passport. You may also apply for a U.S. passport for any child under the age of 18 who automatically acquires citizenship based on your naturalization. So if you have a legal permanent resident child under the age of 18 who is living with you, they might also become a citizen at the same time you do. Once you become a U.S. citizen, you cannot travel outside the U.S. without a U.S. passport. Okay? So again, in some cases, your children will automatically become U.S. citizens when you do. Okay? You have to look up to see all the regulations on that. Usually, I know they must be legal permanent resident and typically under 18 years old and living in your home. If they are under 14, they usually do not need to go to the field office to take an oath ceremony. They will become a U.S. citizen the same time you take your oath ceremony. If they're 14 or older, they will need to go to the field office and take their own oath. Okay. USCIS process is to apply for naturalization certificates using Form N-600. So you filled out N-400, right? To get the naturalization certificate for a child, it would be Form N-600, which would be their certificate of citizenship. And the current cost, though, is crazy. It's $1,170 per child. Okay. And I don't know, that's of today. They might be, going up or changing. Now, the N-600 process is optional because if you can get your child a U.S. passport, many people don't get the naturalization certificates for their children. They just get the U.S. passport instead. Right? But then remember, there's just one form of you just have one document saying your citizenship, the passport. So be very careful of that. So you can get the N-600 and the U.S. passport. You can just get the passport, or you can just get the N-600. And that's it. After your interview and oath ceremony, please come back to this video and share your story. Everyone loves reading each other's experiences, and we love it too. So that's it for class number 12. You did it. Thank you all once again for staying with us for all 12 lessons. I will get that bonus video out to you with all 100 civics questions soon. Let us know if you have any questions, and we will try to point you in the right direction for help. Keep studying, stay well, and please subscribe. Every subscriber helps us continue to provide help to those that need it. So it is incredibly appreciated. Thank you all once again, and stay safe out there.